I, in turn, would also like to welcome you all to Athens, the historic capital of our new large country of Europe. This very important event, which will contribute to a common policy we started working on many years ago, and we are hoping to achieve the final objective, which is the political integration of Europe. So I'm here today as a representative of the European Union in the security and defense sector, representing that in this event, which is part of the parliamentary dimension of the Hellenic presidency of the Council of the European Union. I'm the Minister of National Defense, and I'm here at a time when the European Union is attaching ever greater impetus to the common security and defense policy. I'd like at this point to remind you that Greece always stressed and promoted the historic necessity and political importance of European cooperation in the defense area. It's no coincidence that the last time that Europe centered and focused on defense issues was exactly 10 years ago, when, once again, it was Greece that held the presidency of the Council of the European Union. It was back then that the European Defence Organization was first set up. I would like to stress from the word go the importance of the national parliaments in the European integration process and ensuring security in the European Union, particularly in areas such as defense and security, which I would say are areas of high policy because they directly swing in with peace, stability, security and the well-being of our citizens. Colleagues, geopolitical developments both within the Union and within the immediate and wider neighbourhood around Europe, I think, are showing clearly the very close link which exists between internal and external security. This arch of instability extending right now from Ukraine as far as the shores of North Africa, which somehow encircles Europe, if you like, is a threat. It's a threat to trade, it's a threat to our energy channels, tourism, and to the efforts undertaken by our countries to achieve sustainable development. This arc of instability can have negative repercussions internally within the member states, but also unforeseeable consequences on internal security. In other words, the security of our citizens, and therefore the crucial question of social cohesion. So in the face of this unstable international and regional environment, the Union has to define and defend its geopolitical interests, but do so clearly. If we don't do that, then we are running the risk of being overtaken by historic developments. And when you're overtaken by history, then usually what happens is that you lose control of events. You lose your freedom to bring influence to bear upon and to shape events. And finally, you are running behind the events, as we've seen in recent history in Europe. Europe of the 21st century has to look international reality straight on and to realize that the cohesion and security of our communities depends first and foremost on us setting out the European vision of global security, stability and peace. It depends on the development of a European external energy policy and on the protection of our common borders. It depends also on us strengthening our European mechanisms and actions on defence cooperation and intervention. The appearance of new rivalries as well beyond the borders of Europe. Rivalries relating to, geostrategic and geopolitical matters involving Russia, China, the United States, but also rivalry in respect of energy sufficiency mean that furthering cooperation between member states and developing a credible, cohesive, sustainable, and independent common security and defense policy is of crucial importance. And there's no doubt that we need political will in order to overcome the stereotypes and indeed the myths of the 20th century, to overcome in particular the myth that in today's global age, we as European nation states can go it alone and face up alone to current security challenges. Europe is called upon to give a common response to the current challenges. We cannot remain stuck in the past at such a crucial historic watershed and drag our feet in playing our emerging role as a factor of stability, prosperity and security. Now, that's what was decided at the European Council in December 2013. It talked about the need for a common European future in the defense sector. I think the European Council back in December of 2013 can be seen as the starting point, not as the terminal point, the point of arrival for a comprehensive political framework for managing European military and defense issues. From 2013, when the European 2003 through to 2008, when the European situation in this field was first assessed, and then also through to the end of 2013, not an awful lot has changed in that particular sector. I think we have to see this as a starting point, though, because this was the first meeting which focusing on defense, which confirmed that strengthening cooperation in the defense sector will also strengthen security for our policies. And also it will help re-establish peace and stability in our neighborhood and also in the world. At a time when defense spending is shrinking, whereas the fronts of instability on our planet are ever widening and increasing, it's absolutely crucial that member states have to pool their military efforts, because otherwise we will put at risk their own sovereignty and autonomy. As was made clear in the conclusions of the December Council, the priority is to develop a robust and competitive European industrial and technological base in the defense field, which will benefit growth, employment and innovation in Europe's industrial sector. The priority actions which were defined are the following. There are three of them. Firstly, we have to boost the efficiency, the visibility and the effects of the common security and defense policy. Also, we have to strengthen capacity building, and thirdly, also to strengthen the European defense industry. And in order to achieve all of this, there was a meeting held a few days ago in Brussels, which talked about the changing of this mechanism on defense to become a pillar and a policy within the European Union. In other words, the European Defence Agency now To this end, the time has come for it to become a security body for Europe, obviously based on complementarity, as always, in respect of its links with NATO. So that is the military defense arm of Europe, which would work at becoming and cooperating more effectively with all of our partners, regionally and internationally, in respect of cohesive action and complementarity on all of these aspects which are linked to the questions of internal and external security. The common security and defense policy will have to act in the fields of cyber defense, military security, and energy security. Those will be the focuses. And it also aims at developing cooperation with the freedom and security sector in order to combat illegal immigration, organized crime, and terrorism, but also to extend support to third countries to ensure that they can more effectively manage their borders. Clearly, that is one issue which is seriously affecting the member states, and particularly those which constitute the borders of the European Union, for example, Greece. In order to achieve capacity building, we need to establish interoperability, we have to put an end to duplication and overlapping, and we have to ensure the efficient use of funds. And that can be achieved on the basis of deeper and better cooperation with NATO. The role of the European Defence Agency is very important here in developing remotely piloted aircraft systems, the RPASs. Also, developing the possibilities for in-flight refueling and for satellite communications and cyberspace. Strengthening the defence industry is the cornerstone of an effective and competitive common security and defence policy, and it's one of the basic priorities established by the Hellenic presidency, as you're probably aware, so that we can have a solid market which needs to be based on transparency. We have a directive which today represents the backbone in revising the defence sector and guarantees the boosting of competitiveness within the EU. It's very important on that we stress the role of small and medium-sized companies. They are a crucial link in the supply chain. Measures need to be taken in order to support their role, whereas the major industries also need to be encouraged as well, so that they can also pass on orders to smaller companies as well. We need to extend synergy. We need to continue working as well on our research programs, which were agreed upon in December on a basis of synergy as well. And it's clear that the Council plays a role in that. It can help establish expertise in the role of research and innovation. In other words, the national programs have to be picked out, which could help us support the development of this policy. And also in the establishment of prototypes and a certification, with the action has been suggested there as well. There's an awful lot we can do in common so that we can avoid duplication. We also have to get away from the current fragmentation of the European defence market. We have to establish better cost effectiveness, and we have to ensure that Europe is capable of having a competitive basis for its defence industry and its technology industry. I think that the High Representative has a very important role to play, but just as important is the role of the member states as well, and also the level which is closest to the grassroots, the citizens, that is our parliaments that you represent. The inability of the European Union, ladies and gentlemen, to express a cohesive, comprehensive common defence policy will be fatal for the future, not only in respect of European integration, but for that of the member states as well. I think that as quickly as possible, given the knowledge we've built up over the last few years and in the face of the new challenges, we have to further deepen Europe towards European integration. That is the only path towards ensuring security for European citizens. We should not forget that this route towards European integration started from the defence sector. The first European organisation which was established in the aftermath of the Second World War was based in the defence sector. It was the Western European Union. And that brought us closer together as European nations and led us on this historic path of European integration that was based on the will of the European countries never again to experience this conflict and bloodshed. Each and every one of us, each member state, must shoulder its own historic responsibilities in an age where a new history is being shaped right now. And that's the importance of today's meeting. Not only the role of the European Union for the European citizens that you, ladies and gentlemen, are representing here today, but more than that, at a purely practical level. In other words, the involvement of European citizens in establishing security at home, within the European Union and within their own neighbourhood. To date, I would say that faced with the major challenges, all of us, we are moving in one direction, a decision which I feel has to put a stamp on the current age and which forthcoming generations of citizens and representatives of parliaments will express as well. In other words, that we've understood the situation. We don't want to backtrack. We don't want Europe to come back to its old past. We want to go beyond our go-it-alone situation. We have to get rid of nationalism and populism, which is continuing to be out there, and we're seeing it out in the European landscape. And we're rather afraid that if we don't take the right measures, the forthcoming European Parliament, the new one, will be the first in history, which unfortunately will have anti-European factors within it. And that's the responsibility of national parliaments and national policy. But all of this, I think, has to move towards a medium-term goal right now. We have to promote policies which will complete and integrate Europe, because I think we've been dragging behind on that. So the aim through the security and defence policy is to have a more integrated political Europe, and that's another objective, an objective that goes beyond us. Obviously, we not experiencing what we've experienced in the past. We all bear huge responsibility for our future. Thank you.